Hi, everybody. It's Beth Ienni, licensed therapist and food addiction recovery coach. And today I want to talk about a topic that maybe I don't talk about enough, and that's spiritual death. I'm a very practical person, and I'm a therapist of 20 years. I've raised two kids, been married to the same guy for 34 years, been through a lot, seen a lot. And when I usually talk about food addiction, I talk about the practical stuff, the stuff that happens in real life, the pain, the medications, the health worries, not being able to do things, and just practical stuff. Being big, right? These are practical things. Feeling out of control with food, right? But what really breaks my heart is when I talk to some of you and I realize that what's missing from your life is your authentic purpose and truly enjoying life and truly being present for your life and being connected to things that are more important than food. So I decided to do a video tonight just about what spiritual death looks like for you. Because I'm going to be honest, if you're in a food addiction, you're not a clear channel. You're not in touch with who you really are. You're not in touch with your spirituality. You're not in touch with really anybody or anything the way you really do want to be. And I want to talk about what that's like. Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about the life you're not living that you know deep down inside is yours to live. Let's take something as simple as marriage. A lot of you are married. A lot of you, like me, have been married for decades, or maybe you're on your second or third marriage. And the fact is, if you're a food addict, your marriage is probably not where it needs to be. Maybe you guys sort of get along and you've just sort of accepted, well, that's about as good as it's going to be. We don't beat each other up too much. Well, is that really what you're called to do? Or are you called to really enjoy each other and really learn and grow? But in order to do that, you have to be psychologically, emotionally, physically present. You can't be numb and self-medicated and depressed and hate your body and be hiding from intimacy and not emotionally present and irritable and exhausted, avoiding doing things with your husband, on the couch all the time, saying no all the time, and just being like two ships passing in the night. I think sometimes women like to blame their husbands for all kinds of things. And believe you me, I've done the same. But when you're a food addict, it's important to realize what your part is. And as long as you keep self-medicating, you're making your marriage worse. And what hope is there that it will ever get better if you're not physically, emotionally, or spiritually able to really participate in an intimate relationship? So the next time you're frustrated with your marriage, I want you to really look in the mirror and say, how much is my food addiction getting in the way? If I were physically healthier, and if I looked the way that I wanted to look and felt the way I wanted to feel, would I be able to be more intimate? Would I be able to do more activities with my husband? Would I be able to go out and have fun with him? Would I have the energy to go out and have fun with him? Would I be more patient? Would I be more present? Would I be able to maybe participate in counseling more? Would I be able to pray about it more? So I want you to really think about what food addiction is costing you, aside from the obvious stuff, like I'm out of control with food, I'm fat, all this nonsense that we focus on all the time. What are you really missing? Because after all, food addiction is a disease, an addiction like any other. It ruins your life. And it's not just about weight, and it's not just about your appearance, and it's not even just about your labs and your medicines. It's about your whole life. And the way an alcoholic ruins his or her own whole life, and the way a drug addict or a gambler ruins his or her whole life, that is exactly how you're ruining yours. And honestly, I want you to care about that, because it's just as important, if not more important, than all the other stuff we usually talk about. Okay? If you're not married, maybe your food addiction is the reason why. I mean, let's face it, if you're too tired to go anyplace, if you don't like the way you look, if you're in a fog, if you're depressed, if you're ashamed, if you're guilty, if you're avoiding, if you're sick, if you're in pain, that's because of your food addiction. And I think sometimes it's easy to pretend, oh no, it's because I'm older. Oh, it's because I have arthritis. Oh, no, it's because of your food addiction. Because you can be in your mid 70s and have a tendency toward arthritis and inflammation and not have very much pain at all or fatigue at all if your food addiction is under control. We've seen this over and over again. Many of our clients are in their 70s and they realize all that pain was connected to the food they were eating, even more than the weight. And it wasn't connected to their age, it's connected to their food addiction. Google it, guys. The foods you're eating are causing a lot of pain, and yet you can't control what you're eating. So the next time you wonder, why do I feel so lonely? Why am I still single? Why can't I meet a nice guy? It's probably because of your food addiction, which is making your brain foggy and making you depressed and making you feel sick and making you hate yourself. And you're stuck in a horrible cycle. And that's the reason. Okay? But it's not just about finding a mate or improving your marriage. It's about all the other relationships in your life. A lot of you have kids or grandkids, and you can't get on the floor and play with them. You can't go to their hockey games or their baseball games. You can't go on hikes. You can't travel. You didn't have fun this summer the way everyone else was. You had to say no. You couldn't keep up. You weren't feeling up to doing certain things with your family. There are so many things you're missing. It's not just one relationship, it's every relationship. Think about every important person in your life and how your food addiction is making you too tired or too sick or too much in pain to actually be present with them and enjoy them. It's the life you're not living that I'm concerned about. Okay, it's not just about your weight or your appearance. It's your whole life that you're not living. You're missing it. All the good stuff, you're missing it. And a lot of you feel called deep down to do some volunteer work or to do some kind of ministry, something with your church or temple, your faith community. And you really feel like it's the right thing and you'd be good at it. And yet you don't do it. Why? Because you're exhausted. You're in a fog. You don't feel up to it. And you're putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and you're blaming it on stress and there's too much to do. But if you're real and honest, you'll be able to tell yourself it's because of your food addiction that you're not living your true purpose. A lot of you have a lot of creativity, artistic crafts, so many things that you could give to the world and create, and you're not doing it. And again, you keep thinking tomorrow, tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes, and you're getting older and sicker, and another knee replacement, another medication is added, another warning from the doctor. The scale shows you're getting bigger. And time is passing, and you keep saying, well, maybe tomorrow I'll go back to that commercial weight loss program, or I'll try that again, even though it hasn't worked for the past 5 times. So my concern is that you're lost in this addiction with no path forward, and you're letting your life just pass you by. And the fact is, it's actually a big deal. It's about everything. And we've talked about health a lot already on these videos. Today we're talking about relationships and ministries and artistic things, but also it's financial. I would have to say that people's number one concern with retirement and growing older is, can I even afford to retire or get old in this country? And healthcare costs, right? And it's a weight and it's a burden and it keeps us worried and pushed down. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And yet you and I both know that the biggest risk to your finances is actually your food addiction. Because if you don't get it under control, that's going to be the number one reason why you get sick. And we all know that often the number one reason why older people are financially imperiled is because of healthcare costs. And the one thing you can control in that equation is your food addiction, and yet you're trusting that to, again, slim fast. I mean, nothing against slim fast. That's great for a non-food addict, but you're trusting your whole future to a protein bar or a shake. If you're a food addict, that's not going to work. And I want you to not go bankrupt because you have it in your head like you're like everyone else, and all you need is to do another keto challenge, and then everything's going to be fine. Minimizing an addiction is pretty much the same as denying the addiction. So if you're going to spend your time saying, it's not that bad, I've only had a couple knee replacements, it's not that bad, I can still get around a little bit, it's not that bad, I'm only on like blood pressure medication and some statins for my cholesterol and some diabetes medication, I'm generally very healthy. I mean, sure, I'm tired and I don't have any energy and I'm always on the couch, but I'm basically a healthy person. I mean, sure, I've kind of stopped doing my favorite things, and I'm not doing all these other things that I thought I would do at this age, but I mean, it's no big deal. That's denial. And I want you to realize that your life could be so much more than that. And honestly, I do think some of you have just plain given up. You're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and you kind of figure your life's over, you might as well just accept it. And that breaks my heart, because I know that when you pray, you have a mustard seed of faith that life is not supposed to be just mediocre. There's some piece of you that knows that you're not supposed to just settle for mediocre and give up and blame it on age, or blame it on your husband, or blame it on somebody else. There's some piece of you that knows that you're lying to yourself and that you're called to something higher and you've given up and you're not being true to your real calling in life. And honestly, I don't want to give you a guilt trip. What I want you to do is imagine this life. When you get free of your food addiction, you can actually be happy. You can actually be peaceful. You can actually feel younger than you do now. You can be more active. I actually don't want you to feel guilty. I want you to get excited that this addiction is actually the reason why you're stuck. And what's cool is that if you can actually be honest that you have this addiction and it's ruining your life, now you get to have all that good stuff that you were missing. So there's a huge reward in this for you. A practical reward that you can like the way you look. You can buy some fun clothes. You can go on a fun trip. You can meet some new friends. If you're not married, you can meet somebody. If you are married, you can improve your marriage. You can have more fun with your grandkids. You can take up a new hobby because you actually have the energy to do new things. And I don't want you to miss out. So again, this is not a guilt trip. This is please stop minimizing how bad it is. And please don't give up on yourself. And please know that there is no quick, cheap fix for a food addiction. If the commercial weight loss programs could cure a food addiction, I think they would have done it by now. But they don't. If the lap band surgery and all the other weight loss surgeries would have cured a food addiction, they would have done it by now. If there was a diet pill that would have cured it, we wouldn't have people dropping like flies from diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure and stuck in wheelchairs unnecessarily. So these things out there that don't treat food addiction, don't treat food addiction. So the best thing you can do is admit that you are a food addict, which means you can't control your food well enough. You can't control it well enough, and you're paying a high price for it. Don't minimize it. You're ruining your health. You're ruining your relationships. You're imperiling your finances. You're not living the life you were meant to live. Face it, and that will be the first step to getting better. And drop in the comment below. Let me know if you're ready to face the truth, because that's where recovery really begins for any addict, is to face the truth. about what this disease is stealing from you and what it will steal from you if you don't get a handle on it. That's the first step. So drop in the comments below if you're finally ready to face the truth, or if you have any questions for me. And if you are ready for comprehensive and professional help today, we do offer free calls to anyone who is serious. I'll put it in the comments below, or you can just go to amybethcall.com. That's Amy, A-M-Y, Beth, B-E-T-H, call, C-A-L-L.com. amybethcall.com. And the reason why we offer these calls is that we know that there really isn't a lot of good help out there for food addiction, and we really can't help everybody, but we can help some of you. And we would like to be able to see if you are a fit for what we do. So we get on the phone with you, we ask you some questions. What's going wrong with your food and health? What are your goals? Figure out if you're really ready for change. If you are, we tell you what we do. If we don't think we can help you, we might be able to steer you someplace that would be more appropriate for you. But either way, it'll probably be the only time you've ever really gotten real about your food addiction. And as I said, that is always the beginning to a breakthrough. So either way, you will get a breakthrough on this call. Either way. And I hope to hear from you.